All right, let's go get some more questions from Jeff.
All right, cool. Let's do. How about a math question? Does that sound good?
I guess so.
So good.
Yes. Okay, cool. Well, that's good because we have plenty of those. So this is an interesting question about a savings account. Many of you guys want to save money. Well, this question is: John starts a saving account with $100. Every week he adds $6 to his account. Which equation can be used to determine the number of weeks after which John's accounts will reach $220? So what kind of equation would you use?
Okay,
solve
find the equation to find out when it'll reach
$220. Yeah.
And
Okay.
it's just asking for the equation, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it says, which equation can be used to determine the number of weeks after which John's accounts reaches $220?
And we need an equation. Okay. Sorry, I'm just jotting down all the information. Okay, I can answer that.
All right.
Okay. If you go to my screen, I'm going to give you guys some visuals here. So one thing that I might start to explain this with is maybe with a table, if we look at a table. So we're going to go by weeks. I'm going to say each week and then what the total amount of his account is. So, or the balance of his account, we'll say that. So we're going to compare the two things that are changing in this scenario, and that's the time. So as time goes on, and then his bank account balance. So that's also changing. So those would be our two variables. We can maybe even think of, let's define them. Let's call the week W, and we'll call his total balance B. So one of the first things you kind of want to do when you're coming up with equations for things is decide what your variables are and define them. So what am I going to use and what do they represent? So we'll say that at week 0, John has $100. That's his starting balance. This is actually kind of an important value whenever we're coming up with an equation. At week 1, we would say he has $106 because we're adding $6 to his account each week. Week 2, we could say he has $112 because again we're adding, oops, I put times, I mean add, I swear, because we're adding $6 each week. So one thing to know whenever you're thinking about an equation, and I guess maybe we want to think about the relationship between our y values. How is it growing would be the question that we're asking. And because this is growing at a constant rate, meaning the same amount each week, so a constant rate, and our constant rate in this case is $6, we could say that his bank account, there's a linear relationship here. And that's, again, because of this constant growth. When we write linear equations, they're typically in this form. Y is equal to mx plus b. And let's maybe break this down a little bit. This y is representing the output variable. The m represents our growth, what our constant growth is, or our slope. That's another way to put it. The x represents our input variable, and then this b represents our starting value. Now, if we wanted to then come up with an equation for this, we kind of maybe just need to fill in these kind of ideas here. Our output variable is our balance, which so we'll call b. Our slope or our growth, this m part, is going to represent the $6. This is our constant growth. So we'll say $6. And then we're going to use our input variable, which in this case we used b. So we'll say 6 times b. Now this makes sense because depending on the number, or sorry, not, should have said my out. Hang on one second. Let me get myself clear here. Okay. So B is my output, and then W is my input. I'm sorry. So this makes sense because he's earning $6 per week. So each week that he's adding to his bank account, we're adding $6. So let's say my W was 7. So after 7 weeks, I'd be doing 7 times 6, or $42 would be added to his. And then we are going to add our starting value to it, so which was $100 in this case. Now we're almost there. This is an equation that represents the relationship of this scenario. However, we want to actually find an equation for when his bank account will reach $200. So what we want to think about is which variable we would be replacing with this $200. And we can kind of go back to what we set our variables at the beginning. And $200 is referring to the balance of his bank account, or our B variable. And so we want to know when his balance is going to reach $200. So we're going to replace our B variable in the equation with $200. So we could say 200 is equal to 6 times W plus, oops, stopped writing there, plus 100. And then that equation, we could actually solve that equation to find out how many weeks it took for him to actually reach the $100. So there is our equation. And I like coming up with this original equation just because this original equation we can use for a lot of things. For example, maybe we wanted to find out when his account balance will reach $500. We could replace B with $500. So we could use it for a lot of different scenarios to figure out different pieces of information. So hopefully that answers your question. I think that's what we were asking for. So yeah, thanks for asking.